Hey guys, my name is Kai. Welcome back to Road to Challenger. This is episode number 4. And I'm going to be honest, I have not climbed very much since the last episode, but that's actually because this game occurred not too long after episode number 3, and I really wanted to share this game in particular with you guys today because I think it's easily one of the coolest games of TFT I've played almost ever. It's actually like, it's definitely up there in my top 3. But what makes this game so interesting is that, sure, I do hit double trouble, but how I approached double trouble this game in particular was really fun, and I really wanted to demonstrate that with you guys today because not only was it fun, I think the way I approached double trouble this game in particular was different than how I usually approached it. Now, how did I usually approach double trouble, and how do I think actually a lot of people who played set 7 are approaching double trouble this set? They would play kind of rigidly. And what I mean by that is during set 7, when you hit double trouble, you would think, oh, I'm just going to play into Rengar and I'm just going to get my top 4 and I'm just going to get the fuck out. Now in set 8, most people are aware that the best double trouble board or the strongest double trouble board is probably Kai'Sa. And sure, if you play double trouble Kai'Sa, yeah, you will probably go like top 3, top 2 even. But the problem is that, you know, you hit double trouble and then you just narrow mind yourself and then you narrowly focus onto the idea of just playing Kai'Sa. And I think that in set 8 doesn't really fly well. Now, the first person to really show me this was actually none other than K3 Soju, which, funny story, I wasn't even like trying to VOD review him on purpose. Like, I wasn't watching his stream trying to be like, oh, I want to try to get better at the game. Because he's, you know, he's kind of like clowning around half the time. But to be completely honest, I was just cooking dinner one day, tuned into his stream, and I saw he played the most ridiculous double trouble board I'd ever seen. It was a double trouble Samira 3 with a Senna frontline, which was absolutely bonkers. And he was playing the Senna frontline because of loaded dice, but that's a topic for another discussion. But it's really interesting because, one, he didn't play around the idea of playing Kai'Sa when he hit double trouble at 2-1, unlike me who hit double trouble at 3-2, right? Which you'll eventually see later on. But I think it's really interesting how he hit double trouble and he wasn't thinking, oh, I'm just playing Kai'Sa. He's thinking, oh, I'm just going to play whatever I hit and I'm going to flex around that. And I think that is what's really cool. And yeah, sure, oh, it's set 8, you're supposed to be playing flexibly, yada yada. Like, I hear you. But I think when people pick up double trouble, especially myself, I definitely get a little more narrow focus when it comes to that sort of thing. So it was not like my initial reaction when it came to thinking about how to play around double trouble. But anyways, moving on from that, I'm going to quit yapping. That's like a long ass intro. But anyways, moving on into the gameplay here, we are now going into 2-3. I have a 2 loss streak. Maybe ideally I want to go on a 3 loss streak here, but to be completely honest, the strength of my board is looking pretty strong, knowing that I can tech into Vi at level 5. So I'm just going to make 10 here. If I win, I win. If I lose, I'll maybe try to stay level 4. But because I won, I'm going to try to start win streaking from this point, especially knowing that the spike on my board is probably going to be pretty high once I tech into this Vi. Now here on Carousel, for whatever reason, the bottom 2 did not pick up Jax with a bow. I don't understand why you would not. That is crazy to me, because not only does this open up the potential of playing Jax, but bow is also one of probably the strongest components currently in the meta. So here, I see that, okay, if I level here, I can tech in Jax and Vi, get 2 Civilian, 2 Aegis, 2 Mascot, 2 Brawler, and yes, all my units are 1 cost, or 1 star rather, but they are very strong units, and I can probably streak and continue win streaking at least until stage 3, and then from stage 2 try to figure out where to go. But anyways, here we are, and I'm going to talk a little bit about the augment choice as well. I did pick up Luden's Echo. The other 2 choices, in case you were not aware, were Future Sight as well as Oxforce Heart. Oxforce Heart, honestly, kind of trolling if you pick it up. Oxforce is just in a poor spot at the moment. It's just not very balanced. Plus, playing into the vertical is difficult when your carries or your reliable carries, or the carries that you want to be forcing, are Aphelios and Viego. Viego being a very poor unit of choice to be playing in this current meta, just because everything is so high HP, he gets no resets. And Aphelios is just a difficult unit to hit. It's a very specific 5 cost to be searching for so early on, and you can't just go into 2-1 thinking I'm playing Aphelios. That makes no sense. So, as to why I didn't pick up Future Sight 1. Future Sight 1 is actually a great augment in my opinion. I think it's one of the strongest great augments that are currently in the game, but not from 2-1. I would say if you're picking up Future Sight from 2-1, that 1 Zephyr isn't really going to help you out much. It's actually, if anything, not going to help you out at all, because most of the time your carries are not even strong enough during stage 2 to melt down the front line and then melt down the back line. Instead, what ends up happening is that your carries end up so stuck on the front line, then the unit that you Zephyr comes back down, nothing really changes, and it's just, it is what it is. It's not very good. So in my mind, I just don't think Zephyr is very great until 3-2. So anyways, that's why I didn't pick up Future Sight there, and I ended up going with Ludens. Also, because I had the Ionic Slam, might as well just play around an AP Flex of some sort. Here, I see that the lobby is not that strong, so I actually leveled to 6 here, so that I can play the Samira that happened to high roll. But keep in mind here, from this point, I still don't know what I'm playing yet. I have the RFC on Jax. Jax is looking really nice here, but do I want to play it? Do I not? I'm still not really sure yet, especially because RFC is such a very specific slam for Jax. I'm not really sure if that's really where I want to go with my board, especially with the Samira, and 2 bows are great components to have when trying to pick out Samira. Here we get Blue Battery, First Aid Kit, Double Trouble 2, and you might be thinking, Ludens Echo Blue Battery 1, this guy won the game, just play Spellslingers, hard force it. I disagree. I go with the Double Trouble here because I'm thinking, oh, I could probably Double Trouble here and just flex around anything that I hit, knowing that I'm going to roll down on 3-2 anyways, because I want to try to keep this win streak going. So here I end up rolling down to about 10, and I just pick up whatever I hit. I hit the Vi too. Hopefully I hit another Vi. I was looking for that as well. I was digging. I hit a double Alistar, and I hit double Jax. So I'm thinking, you know what? Make the most of my augment. I'm just going to play double Jax here. And I do slam the RFC here. But I do slam RFC because I noticed that nobody in the lobby is really playing around Jax. Sure, the guy I'm playing right now has an admin crest, but that doesn't necessarily mean they're going to actually tech into Jax and play around that. So here I actually keep rolling down because this is kind of an important note to take on the current economy meta. But when you are rolling down on 3-2, you really need to think about, okay, what am I going to be leveling next, or what am I going to be rolling next, right? And especially if you're on a streak, such as a win streak, and you're rolling down trying to preserve that streak, you really gotta think, okay, until what stage does my board need to stay stable so that when I am rolling down, I know how much power I'm looking for in order to streak until X stage. So in this case, sure, I did roll down a bit on 3-2, but I rolled down even more on 3-3 because I know from this spot, I want to streak all the way till 4-1. Knowing that, I'm rolling down and trying to hit a Jax 2 at the very least, but I'm also trying to look for other upgrades as well, and just really, again, just try to flex around whatever units I can hit. So here we got really lucky, we hit the double Jax, so now we're playing double Jax, double Vi, double Alistar, and our board is really strong. Definitely going to be streaking until stage 4, but here we also do hit the upgrade for the Alistar, and I'm thinking, I don't even know what's stronger. Maybe I just take in the Sejuani with the Alistar, maybe I just don't upgrade the Alistar, but I'm thinking, fuck it, an upgrade's an upgrade. Probably correct to just upgrade and see what goes on. So here we have the Sejuani on our board, and now we're sitting at level 6 with probably one of the strongest stage 3 boards that I've gotten to play in a while, which is absolutely great. Here we got another bow off the carousel as well, so we are looking really good with our Jax items. Now, for those of you who don't know, Jax BIS currently is actually not Ginsu RFC BT, it's actually RFC Shiv BT, but regardless, still need a bow for either of those variants. And even though Ginsu happens to be the more popular variant of Jax currently being played around the meta, if you look at the stats, Shiv is actually slightly higher than Ginsu's, if you have an RFC already. RFC Jax also tends to be the highest win rate Jax, so you definitely want to prioritize RFC first on him, but definitely also needs sustain. So my third item is not going to be Ginsu Shiv, or my two, three items are not going to be Ginsu Shiv. They're going to be either Shiv or Ginsu plus healing. I hope that makes sense. I know I kind of butchered explaining that a little bit, but anyways, here now we're going to neutrals and now 3-7. Here I'm hoping for a Shiv component plus some form of healing. And the interesting thing about healing too is that you really want BT. I know this set, it's supposed to be less focused on hitting your BIS items. It's not really supposed to focus around something like that, but here I'm thinking I could slam Shiv and get JG, but then I have no healing. And I think when you're playing Jax, you really need to rely on healing, and I just don't view Hodge as a good healing item. It's just not a good item to use when you're trying to rely on healing for your third item. I think it's probably one of the worst options out there, so that's why I don't tech into it. But here we are winning again and we're chilling. So I'm thinking, okay, now it's stage 4. Can I streak with this board? I don't know yet, but I do want to see the hero augments first before I make my decision. So I do want to see what I hit first. And here I'm juggling between Riven and the Echo augment. One, because I do have Riven pair on my board and Brawlers goes well, but I'm already sitting on 6 buys. I'm thinking I should probably just drop the Rivens. That's probably the best way to go about it. Obviously I have Riven 2 on my board, it's great, but here I'm thinking, okay, if I can just put one unit in the back line to sort of help fortify the damage, just make sure I have a reliable source of damage, so just not Jax, my board is probably a lot stronger. So here, we actually are able to hit the MF. I would have been okay with an ASOL as well. Both are great standalone units when it comes to just providing secondary damage for your team. But here we hit the MF, and so I'm thinking, fuck it, fuck a Riven. I am just gonna keep playing this board, and I'm sitting on a double Echo, double Vi, double Jax board. And this is just one of those comps I'm just thinking, like, damn, this is pretty cool. Like, this is so cool. Like, this is easily one of the coolest boards that I've gotten to play in a while. And you might be wondering, well, why didn't I tech into Riven instead of the Vi's here? Well, again, the Riven 2 plus an extra Riven was not guaranteed, and I'm already sitting on 6 Vi's. It's a lot of Vi's. Vi is, sure, it's a pretty popular unit, and it's contested a lot during stage 2 and stage 3, but not most of the time. A lot of people actually don't tech into Vi during stage 4 and stage 5 unless they're playing specifically Brawlers or 4 Aegis. But 4 Aegis, as we've seen a lot, has kind of fallen out of the meta because a lot of people are actually opting to play stuff like Sure Shot and Duelist. So you don't see that often as much, so I'm thinking, okay, I'm just gonna stick with the Vi's, and a Vi 3 is a Vi 3. Like, how can you complain about a Vi 3, especially with Double Trouble, right? So I'm thinking, okay, off carousel, gonna look for BT components. That's probably my best bet right now. And here, I do slow roll a little bit, but I think this is a bit of a mistake. So this was actually before I started VOD reviewing a bit of Bebe's gameplay. And Bebe, for those of you who don't know, Bebe872, he is the rank 1 Korean TFT player, at least I believe at the moment. But he actually does something different than from what I did. So here, I'm slow rolling down to 50, right? What Bebe would do from this spot is most likely just hold the line. And what I mean by that is, I've watched a lot of his gameplay at this point now, and I used to never watch his gameplay, but what I've seen him do a lot is that instead of rolling here and slow rolling here, he would just not roll. He would instead just hold the line. Don't roll for any upgrades, because the only upgrades I'm looking for here is Jax 2, right? And it's not like it super spikes my board. I mean, yeah, it helps, but it's not like amazing, right? So instead, what I could do here is save for potential. And I think this is something that's so interesting. It's something that I've kind of known but never really thought about too much, but it's definitely a concept that I think a lot of higher elo players tech into a lot more, and I definitely want to incorporate more of it into my own gameplay. But what do I exactly mean by saving for potential? Well, when you have gold and you have a lot of it, or even just a little bit of it, really, gold represents potential or potential board strength, right? And that potential board strength doesn't necessarily have to be one thing. My potential board strength doesn't have to come from me hitting Jax 3. It could be going level 8 and teching in another unit instead, right? So instead, what I could have done during 4, 5, and 4, 6 was just hold the line, save up like 80, 90, maybe 100 gold after neutrals, and just think, do I want to go level 8? Or do I want to stay level 7 and reroll for this Jax, right? Because by doing so, I could have scouted the lobby a bit more, see how many 3 costs were taken out. Maybe if I was contested, I wouldn't roll down for it, etc, etc. There are so many things I could have done, and it keeps your options open, which I think is really, really nice. Sort of, if I'm slow rolling after every single time I'm above 50, it's like, dude, like, sure, it's nice to have, but like, it's nice to hit those upgrades, but those minuscule upgrades are not really going to spike my board that heavily. And having the option to maybe go 8 instead of slow rolling for this Jax 3 instead gives me more options, gives me more opportunities to try to look for X, Y, or Z. So something I definitely would have done there was, again, try to really think about whether or not on stage 5-1 I wanted to level to 8, or if I wanted to slow roll for Jax. Here, I did opt to slow roll for Jax, but again, was it the best use of my economy? Surprisingly, no. I could have, again, just waited, saved, and build up potential, and then figure out what to do from there. And I think that's something that's really, really cool, and I really want to incorporate more into my own gameplay. But again, it's something I do now, but again, watching this VOD, it's not something that I did do, but it's something I did want to mention and bring up, because I think it is something that is a bit more of a nuanced topic, but isn't discussed enough. Also, just another quick note, on 5-1, I didn't open my anvil immediately, which I think you should just open your anvil immediately. I know I did watch Sub-Zero mention, Sub-Zero Arc, for those of you who don't know, is also a Challenger TFT YouTuber, but he did mention that he prefers opening the anvil later, after you see what you hit after your roll down. I kind of disagree, but he also has a higher peak rank than me, so maybe I'm wrong. But I think slamming your items first and figuring out where your items are going to be are probably better. Sure, you might hit some other units first, but I think most of the time you might be better off if you just slam your items, figure that shit out first, because it can be a bit confusing. Especially because if you did what I did, you go into another fight and then you don't know what to do with your items, it can be really confusing, right? So I think for me, personally, I think, sure, it may be more optimal to slam your items after you roll down and figure out what you're doing, but if you ask me, I think it's just so much easier to just slam your items first, figure that shit out, and then roll and figure out your upgrades. But anyways, here we are going into stage 6 very soon. I did want the BT off carousel. I don't know if you saw it, but somebody nicked it away from me very last second, so I ended up picking up this hacker crest. And I'm not 100% sold on the idea of playing hacker here. Definitely should have played the Alistar here instead of this Zoe, but it is what it is. Another blunder on my end. Wow, a lot of blunders in the late game actually. But I'm thinking, okay, I really want to just greed here, really see if I can hit this BT, because I don't want to be playing hacker on my board, just because I do have to end up playing like 2 or 3 shitters on my board if I do have to force this hacker crest onto one of my units. But here I'm really hoping that the item choices or the item anvil that it gives me the option to go BT, and if not, then I will just slam hacker jacks and we'll just call it. And as you can see here, didn't hit the BT or gunblade, but I did hit a warmogs, which is honestly good enough. That's, you know, extra tank stats for my Vi, can't really complain. So I end up going with the warmogs here, and then I hit the Zoe too, and I'm thinking, okay, you know what, fuck it. Oh, and the Vi 3, which is super dope. But I'm thinking, okay, you know what, fuck it. Just gonna tech in the Urgot, just try to build up a little more economy back up, maybe get some other components in there as well. But I'm gonna definitely commit to the hacker jacks because hacker does give lifesteal. Plus, an interesting fact, if you have at least 3 hacker in there, you actually gain more omnivamp than you would if you were to play a BT. So I'm thinking, okay, my level 9 or even my level 8, I'm probably playing 3 hacker or double trouble MF or double trouble echo. But from this spot, I'm thinking, okay, it's probably 3 hacker over double trouble echo because my echo has no items. If my echo was itemized a little bit, like 2 items maybe, I'd be down to double trouble echo here, but instead, because I don't have it, I'd rather just play into the 3 hacker, which gives 40% omnivamp for my Jax. So basically, my Jax has like a super omega strong BT. So now my items for my Jax are really, really good, and I can probably think about, okay, where do I want to go from here? So I'm looking at everybody's HP right now. I'm looking at how much XP it costs for me to go level 9. I see it's 72 right now, and I'm trying to calculate, is it possible for me, Jesus, my Boston accent's coming out. Is it possible for me to go level 9 from the spot? And I'm thinking, based off of math, it's a maybe. So I'm thinking, you know what? I'm going to try though, because it's very possible that we'll go 9 here because everybody's board is so strong in this lobby. So here I'm thinking, okay, if I do go level 9, what am I playing? What is my out? And I'm thinking, okay, my out is probably double trouble MF, maybe 4 hacker. It's probably one of the 2. Don't really know which way I'm going, but I know one thing is for certain. I'm going level 9 because level 9 gives me the opportunity to tech in more useful stuff, like very more useful stuff, right? 4 hacker, for those of you who don't know, gives 90% omnivamp, which is an insane stat. But also, just double trouble MF is also really, really great to have, especially because my MF is just her. She's just relying on her ace, and that's it, in order to try to dish out enough damage. And here we actually even lose, so, you know, it's very possible this game goes until level 9. But here again, the double trouble stats onto MF would just be such a blessing. She would just do so much more damage. But again, not really sure which is stronger, 4 hacker or double trouble MF. But again, trying to keep my options open with everything here. So here now we're going into stage 6-6, almost going into stage 7 now. It's a very long game. But here, I'm actually playing into the real now. I actually lost to this guy's clone earlier, so I'm not actually expecting to win here. But you know, things just kind of work out in our favor. My MF doesn't get Omega CC to death unlike the last fight, so we actually win this one, which is great. And so I'm thinking, okay, I hit the LeBlanc. I can still potentially think about going for a hacker. Not really sure yet, but at least now I have the potential to go for a hacker if I do end up hitting. So here we're going into neutrals here. And again, just constantly when it comes to the end game, you really got to think about how am I going to cap out my board, right? So here, for me, again, 4 hacker, double trouble MF, double trouble echo, right? Also, just items here, just itemizing what would be best for my board. Here, probably Morelos. I don't see that much healing on the boards, to be completely honest, but it's very possible that Titans was actually the correct call here. I wasn't actually sure. But here, I'm thinking, you know what, fuck it. This guy has a Sona, maybe it'll help, not really sure, but Titans doesn't really help my frontline anyways. I'm like, it is what it is. But anyways, here we take a pretty fat loss, and we're down to 1 HP, but I'm thinking, okay, that's fine though. I can go level 9 here no matter what, and I can tech into 4 hacker. And I'm thinking, okay, my board's probably complete, but I gotta think about, okay, why did I lose that last fight, right? Is 4 hacker really enough to really solve my board? Probably not. I lacked 2 things: damage, and my Jax being able to ramp up. It got focused immediately because I hacked into the backline. So instead, I'm going to let my jacks ramp up, not hacker it, and I'm going to tech out of 3 hacker and actually play double trouble MF instead. That way I can alleviate these 2 problems, and hopefully that becomes my solution so that I can go first place. And sure enough, it is, and we go first place from this spot. So anyways, this was one of the best games of fucking Double Trouble I've ever gotten to play, and I am so happy I got to share with you guys, and I really hope you guys learned a lot from this one. Thank you guys for making it to the end of Road to Challenger episode number 4. I do hope this one was helpful and definitely opened your eyes a little bit as to how to approach Double Trouble. I think this argument's way more fun than last set, so I'm definitely more excited to pick this one up. Please like, comment, subscribe if you found this video helpful, and hopefully I'll see you guys in Masters in the next episode, but we'll see. I mean, I don't know. Hopefully. The goal is Masters by episode number 5, so we should definitely be there already, if not, so it is what it is. Anyways, see you guys later, and take care. Happy climbing. Bye-bye.